Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Of course, I apologize for that matter. Having to take down that one, with I was told the audio wasn't the best. I appreciate the support in being told what's going on because I cannot hear it. So, in that particular manner, we are going to, brothers and sisters, get into this particular thing, presentation, if you will. And that is called Jeremiah and the Sabbath. And in this, brothers and sisters, what we want to do and give an honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. Let us begin in saying a prayer. And I want to read this prayer, and it will be, brothers and sisters, in the book of Psalms. All right? 119, verse 105. And that is again Psalms 119, verse 105. And it reads, brothers and sisters, as follows. All right? So we can gain some understanding in what we're going to be reading. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path. I have sworn and I will perform it, that I will keep thy righteous judgments. I am afflicted with much. Quicken me, O Yah, according to thy word. Accept, I pray thee, the few offerings of my mouth, O Yah, and teach me thy thy judgments. My soul is continually in my hand, yet I do not forget thy law. The wicked have laid a snare for me, yet I err not from thy precepts. Thy testimonies have I taken as a heritage forever, for they are the rejoicing of my heart. I have inclined mine heart to perform thy statutes always, even unto the end. Brothers and sisters, I hope and pray that everybody is well and will be better. We intend to get into this presentation called Jeremiah and the Sabbath. We do not intend for it to be long, no longer than an hour, as I intend, brothers and sisters, to listen to a lesson from a congregation, DCB, at said time. Much respect to my brother and my friend, Chief Uzael, the Mishpaka drummers as well as the people who run the prayer line, Adon Saul Naaman and his Isha Goveri Kokavia. Shalom, my brother Yirmiyahu Yisrael. And APTTMH, for those who may not know what the brother typed in, stands for all praise to the Most High. And what we're going to do, brothers and sisters, is pull up the PowerPoint by having the share screen, if you will, right? And if you are in good spirits and you can hear me, well, please type in. I ask you the number 4. If it can be heard, and people who already type in the number 4, thank you for that. All right? I am a Hebrew teacher, but I am not the only Hebrew teacher. And I ask you all to pick your Hebrew teacher. Male, female, young or old. Whatever, whoever resonates with your spirit. So we're going to, brothers and sisters, get to this. We're going to start with the slideshow from the current slide, in this case, right? And let's go in. And it says, concerning Jeremiah and the Sabbath. Shalom. Give an honor to the Creator of heaven and earth. This presentation is brought to you all from Day Night Publications. That's the website. In this, we will speak on the matter of the prophet Jeremiah and the Sabbath. We ask you all to subscribe to the channel. Now, This is posted on 3 different channels. More Yeshaya Torah lessons, more Yeshaya Hebrew lessons, and more Yeshaya history lessons too. We ask you all to subscribe to whatever channel you are on. We are going to, brothers and sisters, get into this and look at it from the laser pointer. And it says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. I'm going to pre-ask the brother, if I may, to type in the definition of the word yom as we get into this matter. Zakor et yom ha-shabbat l'kwacho. The meaning is remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Zakor, remember, in command form. From the root word zakar, in root means to remember. So zakar means remember. Some useful matters concerning this is zakarti, I remembered. That is it in its past tense. So we want to color code that. All right, zakarti. All right. And the meaning of it is I remembered. All right. Then we have, brothers and sisters, here. It's called, which means I will remember. These words are said by either male or female. So if you want to say I remembered, the past tense, or if you want to say I will remember, the future tense, it's in that particular case. So if you were to say zakarti, I remembered, as a man you can say it, as a woman you can say it. If you want to say I will remember eskor, as a male you can say it, as a female you can say it. All right, just want to point that out. Sabbath, cessation. In Hebrew, it's said as Shabbat. This is the word Shabbat, brothers and sisters. This in the verb form means to cease or to discontinue. Some useful matters concerning this is Shabbati, I cease. Eshbot, I will cease. Now, brothers and sisters, let us look at this with the highlighter but in yellow, right? Shabbati, I cease. Now, most times people think cease as in kadal, which doesn't mean that. But Shabbat means to cease or to discontinue, or to, in that manner. And we want to color code it, all right? And what it means in this particular case, all right? I was just informed from my brother in text that the congregation DCB will be starting at 6:30. So we started this at 5, creator willing, everything goes well. We do not intend to be that long because I do want to watch the presentation here. As I have subscribed to the channel, I ask you all also to subscribe to the channel. For those not to get sidetracked, who may know bought my book, the brother Chief Nasali Dan, he did many of the covers. He's one of the teachers and leaders in the congregation DCB. The brother, and I'm going to take the liberty to say so, Meku Baya, or Meku, the drummer there, one of the chief drummers there, or the chief drummer there, he was there at my imam's funeral. I'm also about my mother, may she rest in peace. He drummed at her funeral. So we kind of have a tie in connection as brothers. So I definitely do big up my brothers, all right, in that particular case. So let's look, brothers and sisters, in this. And from what I can see, that doesn't look the best with the green. No disrespect to green color, but I'm going to take that off and put it in a different way. Because I'm looking at the screen and I'm like, whoa. So we're going to highlight it, but we'll use green. But we'll use it underneath it and not on it. All right, I see. Shabbati, and Shbot means I will cease. All right, then we have I will remember. Is quarter. So what am I pointing out? Whether you say Shabbati, I ceased, that means male or female can say it. If you're saying Eshbot, I will cease, male or female can say it. Right? So that's just something we want to point out in that case. Any questions or comments, please feel free to type it in. So let's look at the pen here, right? look at this word here. I don't want to use the red, family. All right, we're going to get the eraser and take that off. I want to use the highlighter, but I want to use brothers and sisters black. There, and I want to use purple on top. Yo, the brother Yirmiyahu typed in the word day for such. That is not incorrect. That is actually very true. But we want to see if we can gain an understanding concerning the word yom, in addition to the definition of it or the translation of it being day. Thank you for that, my brother. Here we're going to get into Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 10. Now I stayed in a mount as at the first time 40 days and 40 nights. And the Lord hearkened unto me that time also. The Lord will not destroy thee. So let's look at the laser pointer and see what we can ascertain. وَأَنَوْكِ أَمَاتِ بَحَارٍ كَيَمِيمْ مَارِشَوْنِمْ أَرْبَعِينَ يَوْمَ وَأَرْبَعِينَ لَيْلَةً وَيِشْمَعْ وَاهِي إِلَّا دَمْ بَقَامْ هَاهِيُ لو أبا يوري واهي هيش خيتها. Now, what key word we want to point out? You see why we got this in the Hebrew part. We see we're going to get into the history. So why this is on 3 different channels, there's a reason for such. Shabbat is part of Torah, so it's on more Shai Torah lessons. Shabbat's a Hebrew word. We're going over Hebrew here. So we're going to have it into the Hebrew part. And then we're going to get into history as well. So we're asking you all to whatever channel you're watching this on, please subscribe to it, brothers and sisters, in that particular case. So let's look and see, and we want to highlight in the yellow, right? Certain words. Kayamim, Yom. Now, brothers and sisters, the word Yamim is the plural of the word for day. Yom is singular, Yamim is the plural. So let's read the English and remember what the brother typed in, and then go back to Exodus. Now I stayed in the mount, but Anoki Amati. And I stayed, and I stood, and I remained, okay, Bahar in the mount, as at the first time. Kayamim Harishonim. So when you read here, and we want to color code it, if we will, right? Let's use this blue here. And we see first time. And we see here Harishonim. Remember, in Hebrew, words rhyme, or agree, should I say. So, first is a description. It's describing a particular matter in that case. Then we have, before then, should I say, Kayamim. But right here, we see it translated, brothers and sisters, right? As we're going to point out, first time. Rishon means first, or leader, or head. Shalom, my brothers. Saw Yehu, my shalom, brother. So Yamim is the plural of the word Yom. Yom becomes Yamim. All right? So that's something we want to point out for edification purposes. All right? And what do, again, we want to emphasize on in this manner, all right? I want to send this real quick to 1, if we will. Right? Okay, let's move on, family. Thank you. And Rishon means first. So when we read here in the English first, and we're reading out of Deuteronomy 10, verse 10, time, Yamim, plural of the word Yom. But we read here in Exodus chapter 20, Zakor et Yom HaShabbat. Remember the Sabbath day. So can the word Yom, brothers brothers and sisters, I'll ask you, can the word yom mean time? Can yom mean time? And if it can mean that, we can see Exodus 20 saying what? All right. Remember the time of the Shabbat. Remember the Sabbath time to keep it holy. See, why do I go there? Because if Yom only meant the word day, here's how we read Deuteronomy 10, verse 10 in the English. Now, if I stayed in the mount as at the first days, 40 days and 40 nights. See? That's why Yom has more than one meaning. So, if we were to say that the word Yom means time, we can read Exodus without any problem of it saying, remember the Sabbath time to keep it holy. There's nothing wrong with that. Some Israelites teaching is not to knock any brothers and sisters. Well, the Sabbath is only in the daylight part. If that be the case, and you're saying that day is the daylight only part, and Yom doesn't mean time, as we're pointing out here in Deuteronomy chapter 10, what are you doing Friday night? Working. You can't at certain times go to the congregation, to the holy convocation, because you Friday night was intimate with your wife carnally. So now you're in the state of what? Unclean or being tameh. So doesn't that tell you that if you become unclean, quote unquote, Friday night, and that disavows you from going to the congregation, quote unquote, Saturday morning, that has some time of connecting with each other? Yes, we know it says from the rising of the sun until the going down of the same, it says that the Most High's name is to be praised. That doesn't mean that that's the only time you can do it. They were praising the Most High at night when they left out of the land of Egypt. So let's look and get into another example, if we will, brothers and sisters. All right, and we're going to pull this back up from the current slide, right? But let's look, because I want to type this in so it can be seen in every chat that it's in. Let's look at Jeremiah chapter 31, right? Verses 33 to verse 34. And Deuteronomy, because we don't let the book speak, all right? So it was like, oh, he's always citing himself for his teachers. No, this is the book itself. Deuteronomy 16, verse 1. So let's look and see, brothers and sisters, what is the book saying to us in that particular case, right? And here is what we can ascertain, what we can gather in this particular man. So we're going to pull this back up. We're going to go from the current slide, and we're going to read Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 33. And here is what it says. Jeremiah chapter 31, in the 33rd verse. And it says this. But this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord, I will put... Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's not the verse. We're going to correct that. Jeremiah 31, verse 32. Sorry about that, family, and we'll read it now. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. So, brothers and sisters, all right, what can we gather in this particular case? We're going to read it, Jeremiah, or type it in here, 31. This is verse 32. And what did we just read, brothers and sisters? It says that the Most High, right, in the day that he brought the forth out of the land of Egypt. If I can be heard clearly, if I can be heard well, and people are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. If I can be heard well, and people are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 32. We want to bring this out. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. Now, let's go from there, brothers and sisters. All right. All right. The staggering is going to dissipate. That I'm not too surprised with. Thank you for that, my brother. All right. And that staggering you might hear, it comes from the matter of the internet with the YouTube, and I'm on StreamYard and so forth. All right. So, in that manner. So let's look, brothers and sisters, in that case. Deuteronomy chapter 16. Thank you for that, family. Verse 1. All right. And here's what it says. Observe the month of Abib, Passover, unto the Lord thy God. For in a month of Abib, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt. So what's being stated here, brothers and sisters, is what? Keep me posted on the sound, family. Thank you so much. In Deuteronomy 16, verse 1, we read, it distinctly says, observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Brought you forth out of Egypt by night. So now, with the matter of day and night, and we just read in Jeremiah, all right? Thank you for that, Yirmiyahu. Thank you for that, Adoniah, regarding letting me know what's going on with such. Thank you for that. It says, what? Israel was brought forth out of Egypt in Jeremiah in the daytime, or in day. And then in Deuteronomy, before that, it says Egypt by night. So is it day or night? Or can we understand it, Cain, Todayah, can we understand that the word translated usually as day, Yom, can mean time? Because if it's not, then we got an issue with Deuteronomy 10 verse 10. Now I stayed in the mount as at the first days, 40 days and 40 nights. So that word Yom, pluralizes Yamim, gotta mean more than just the word day. If it says 6 days, Sheshet Yamim, that's how we know Yamim is the plural of the word Yom. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. Does that mean that you don't work at night? And were they in violation in the time of Nehemiah when they were doing things at night? Because you got to remember, Israel is thousands and thousands of people. All right? And if that being the case, how you going to have a society where only you do things only in the daytime? Nobody does nothing at night. If it distinctly says 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and we know that the Passover comes in the evening, and you up all night, and Deuteronomy says you shall turn in the morning and go to your tents, in Deuteronomy 16, that means Passover observance is kept all night long. So you're eating what? Certainly unleavened bread with it. But if it says you shall eat it 7 days, what do you eat at night? You know what it is? And it's not trying to be disrespectful. And I have not in my life been the best Sabbath keeper. For men, it's that paper, baby. It's that overtime. I'm going to get that guap, that kesef. We heard the word kesef before, right, brothers? That's why people teach that, oh, the Sabbath is only in the daylight part. Because you're not going to mess up my time of getting that extra. And I tell you this as a brother who has not been the best Sabbath keeper. In my understanding of this for a good amount of over 30 years. Over 18 of years without my mother, who was my first teacher in Israel. She ain't never, I ever remember breaking Shabbat. She ain't never go to work on Shabbat. There was no dispossessed notices coming in. No phone turned off service and all of that. But my mother went to work every so-called Xmas. And I mean almost everyone, unless it was on the Shabbat. So Israel, this is not to trying to talk business on a holy day. They pay you more when you work on their holidays than you trying to sit back and say, I'm going to get that overtime on quote-unquote Saturday. You get more working on their so-called New Year's than Xmas. Did you know that? They call it time and a half because you're working when most don't want to. So a lot of companies even like that. So the Israelites, like, oh yeah, because they asked her back in like 1986 or so. It's like, Miss, I'm not gonna mention her government, may she rest in peace. Will you mind working on recreational days or something like that? They said. She's like, what days? Well, we mean like, Thanksgiving and Xmas and things like. I'm in. We've been in Israel already 4 years from 1982. By the time she was working with the transit in 1986, so that was easy. I'm saying that to say this, brothers and sisters, is that when brothers and sisters teach that the Sabbath day, which we just went over and showed how the word Yom, plural Yamim, brothers and sisters, means what? Days. Also means time. That's why we see Deuteronomy 10 verse 10 as you see on the screen. Now I stayed in the mount as at the first time, and we see what? Brothers and sisters, in this case, being a brother who has not been the best Sabbath keeper. And I'm going to just say it very candidly as that. No pun intended. Not trying to sound high-handed like I did what I did. So no, I'm not trying to come off in that manner. But look at this, brothers and sisters. Kayamim ha-rishonim. First time. And the word Yamim you also see in Exodus. You understand? So looking upon it like that, 40 days and 40 nights, Arba'im is 40. Arba is 4. Arba'im Laila. So we don't say night to night, brothers and sisters. Like some people try to say, we say, oh, well, when y'all talk about Sabbath, you talking about nighttime. We didn't say night, day and night. We said evening. And the evening and the morning were one day, the second day, the third day, and so forth. So again, we have to ask. Having about a good hour left before the congregation DCB starts, which I want to hear their lesson in the afternoon. What do you do when it says you shall eat something for 7 days? Or, I see there's several brothers in the chat, Yirmiyahu, Sariyehu, Adoniah, and others, right? When it says that your wife is unclean 7 days, and wheresoever she sit and wheresoever she lie is unclean, what do you do then? It don't say she's unclean at night. It says 7 days. But to get from one day to the next, you got to get through evening, Ereb, you got to get through Laila, and you got to, which is night, and you got to get through Shakarit, which is dawn. What do you do? Those men who got wives, significant others, court mates, Nashim, women, but we want to promote katuna, which is marriage in the house of Israel. We don't want to promote shacking up. Let's get it straight. What do you do when your isha, your beula, your orasa, your betrothed is unclean for 7 days? Because if her uncleanness comes in at 3 a.m., that's still dark nighttime, if you will. What do you do then? We're talking about something that if a man goes into a woman carnally, knowing she's unclean, it says that soul shall be cut off from among his people. Now, if you go into a woman, this is Torah, this is Leviticus. I was taught this as a child. Oh, this is real. Yeah, it's real. This is real. If a woman normally says she gets on her cycle on, just pick a date, the 14th of every month, and her husband have carnal relations on the 10th or the 11th, you know that can force her uncleanness to come down. It can't happen. She's not already unclean. And this is where the Lord gets into the matter of saying, if he lies carnally with her and her uncleanness comes upon him, that means you didn't anticipate to deal with the flowers, as the book of Leviticus call it. As they called it when I was in high school, being nasty, earning your red wings. Looking forward to her uncleanness in order to try to be carnal with such. That's against the laws of the Most High God. You know she's unclean on, say, now the 11th, and y'all doing something carnally like that on the 14th. That's different. Then she normally gets unclean on the 14th, and you're doing something on the 11th, carnally. But it still says in Leviticus 15, sheep at yamim. The same word yamim you see here in Deuteronomy. The same word yamim you see in Exodus 20. But when it come down to that paper, or for some brothers, when it come down, he yafa. What does that mean? Anybody? All the Hebrew speakers? What does the words he yafa mean? We already went over earlier, the word he means she. So what does yapa or yafa mean? Anybody could type that in the chat? Brothers and sisters? All right? And looking, say, upon it in that particular manner. That's what it is. Many people get paid on Friday. He wants to go on a date. Well, Sabbath day. So I'm going to use Friday night. And after getting paid, after probably working the last Saturday, or that Friday night before then, because working sometimes Friday night leads you to Saturday morning. So if you work at night, and most times it leads into the day. Because if you had a certain kind of job and you get what they call mandated, or if you had a certain kind of job and somebody doesn't come in and you're, quote, stuck at the job, what happens then? But see, Israel, no disrespect to the Shabbat, when you only meet the day you told to do no work, that's the kind of situation that happens. We supposed to be able to be so sufficient for one and with each other. But even in that case, we still depend whether that is or not on the Most High, and not go against these laws, statutes, and commandments. So don't deal with the Nashim or the women in carnal manners when she's unclean. Don't sit there and say, knowing the Hebrew now, we're not saying Hebrew is a commandment, but the commandments were given in Hebrew though. Ancient Israel ain't speak English. And this is not to be insulting again. I'll be the first to tell you, pick your teacher. I name him. More Irania, a Hebrew teacher out of DCB. Tehillah Ben Dan, a Hebrew teacher, known internationally. Mordeh Yehotzedek, a Hebrew teacher that helped bring my iman in this understanding. Abdiel Levi, a.k.a. Zion Lex, another Hebrew teacher. Pick your Hebrew teacher. There's far and many, brothers and sisters. Kohen Mikael, get his book. Iman Shoshana, get her book. There's far and many Hebrew teachers. Pick whom you want. So, brothers and sisters, looking upon it in this manner, right? This is not to have taken up the time, but we wanted to get into that particular subject and bring this out. So, Yom can mean time. So, when we read here, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, we also can see that it can say, remember the Sabbath time or the time of Sabbath to keep it holy. What does that mean? Leviticus 19 already tell us to be holy. But we're supposed to, brothers and sisters, keep the timing in the day holy. And it also says in the laws of the Sabbath in Exodus, 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. You know when you really on your grind, you know you look forward to the Shabbat. If you're not on your grind, and we're going to read this, brothers and sisters, and this is all in the book, brothers and sisters, this is not to try to take nothing away or castigate or anything of that sort. I wanted to type this in what we're going to be reading, and this is in Proverbs, right? 20, verse 13. And let's see what it says, brothers and sisters, in that particular case. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 13, and it says this. So that way we can gain some understanding. Letting the book speak for itself. Right? In the laws of the Sabbath, it says 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 13. Love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thine eyes, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread. Who talks about bread as in reference with funds? What people on earth say, yo, that's my bread? Just throwing that out there. Proverbs 20, verse 13. It says, love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thine eyes, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread. What did Jacob tell his sons? I heard there's bread in Egypt. Why are y'all staring at each other? Go down here before we die. We got to eat. There's a timing for such. So if you have in your culture, O house of Israel, that is telling you to not do work, don't that tell you that as a people, that culture is not for a lazy people? Israel is not meant to be azel or lazy. Azel, sorry. If you have capital punishment for working, that shows you that these people, the house of Israel, is so used to working. You got a law saying don't go into work. This day you can't. And Israelites looking at Israelites who work on holy days like, really, B? You really did that? You really do that? That just go to show you that Israel's culture ain't based upon laziness. For you to have laws that are established for you to take a break. I'm telling you not work. I'm telling you take a break. You live longer. I remember my teacher used to teach that. And he lived very long. May the Most High bless his memory. When I was in Hashaba, Kohen Lewi used to teach that. Keep the Shabbat, you live longer. Do you know, and it's not trying to get sidetracked from the Hebrew, but we're talking on law, history, which we're going to get into with the time allotted, right? You know how many brothers will be alive, and by brothers I mean so-called black men, if our people in general kept the Shabbat? Do you know how many hospitals are filled with brothers going to the morgue because of things that happen on the Shabbat? I remember, and I'm going to give the credit where it's due, an elder coming out of DCB, the congregation there. He said, when you sit there and see the deaths of our men, look to see how they treated their mother and father. Because the Most High never respect dishonoring your parents. Take a look and see. And this is not trying to say that people are not are just horrible. I'm not trying to portray that. What I'm saying is this: if we want to live, let's keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. It was Chief Kohat out of DCB that pointed that out. Look at how they treat their parents and see where their future will be. Solomon said, he who dishonors his father and his mother, or curses his father and his mother, his lamp shall be put out in the blackest darkness. So when you're in a situation, not trying to sound harsh like myself, you ain't got my father, I was 14, my mother, I was 24. Honor them. Like it says, for those who do agree with the Apocrypha, I know some Israelites do, some Israelites don't. This is a book my lady Sarah bought me. And in Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3. Now, I'm going to give the credit where it's due because it doesn't take nothing away from me as a brother and as a man. This was read to me in the congregation, Shema Yisrael, by Chief Hezekiah. May the Most High bless his life. Chief Hezekiah, teaching one time in the congregation, Shema Yisrael, pointed this out. Ecclesiasticus chapter 3, verse 1. Hear me, your father, O children, and do thereafter, that you may be what? Safe. For the Most High have given the father honor over the children, and have confirmed the authority of the mother over the sons. Whoso honoreth his father maketh an atonement for his sins. We are in the Apocrypha, brothers and sisters. All right, it goes on to say this. Shalom, Shammai Eliezer, chief. Shalom, everybody else. We in the Apocrypha, Ecclesiasticus chapter 3, verse 3. Whoso honoreth his father maketh an atonement for his sins. So ain't nobody had to come and sit there and die for your sins. Honor your father. That's how you can make an atonement, as well as ALMS, alms. All right, it also says that he that honoreth his mother is as one that layeth up treasure. Whoso honoreth his father shall have joy of his own children, and when he maketh his prayer, he shall be heard. If you can't honor your earthly father, how are you going to honor the Most High, the Heavenly Father, that looks down on heaven? Psalms 113 says the Most High looks down on heaven, but we call him our Heavenly Father. It said, honor them. It didn't say you got to agree. You think I agree as much as I talk about missing my mother over 18 years, may she rest in peace? You think I agree with everything that happened? Of course not. And even if your mother and your father did not get along, guess what? That's not your problem. We're going to lay it down what it says right here in the Apocrypha. Your mother and father not getting along is not a reason for you to dishonor any one of them. I know a father's approaching his sons like, disrespect your mother, you disrespect my lady, I'm going to come at you like a dude in the street disrespecting my lady. Let's go on and see what it says. Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 3, verse 6. He that honoreth his father shall have a long life, and he that is obedient unto the Most High shall be a comfort to his mother. The Most High says 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. You know your mother is struggling, but you want to sit there and not offer any hand. I remember not tooting my horn when I used to give my mother money for rent. It's like such a relief. Thank you. Honor them. Help them out. Do that. It goes on to say this. For the blessing of the father establishes the houses of children, but the curse of the mother rooteth out foundations. Jacob and Esau. Isaac, what shall my life be to me if Jacob marry the daughters of Heth like Esau? Jacob, come back and get another blessing. I believe, and this is just my belief, that Isaac knew who he was blessing the first time. This is Abraham's son Isaac. He's not just giving blessings out, asking whose son is this of mine, and not knowing what in the world is going on. This is Abraham's son. He's not just giving blessings out like that. He knew. He said the voice is the voice of Jacob in in Genesis 27. So we're going to try this one more time. The hands is the hands of Esau, but the voice is the voice of Jacob. Now, who are you? I am your firstborn son. Esau wouldn't have said that. First off, Esau would have not said, how did you get it so quickly, my son? The Lord thy God. First, stop, even before I hear the tone of the voice. Esau does not talk about Yahweh Eloheka. He doesn't talk the Lord thy God. So that's Jacob. Even before maybe the voice was recognized, the words were recognized. And so now when Esau comes in, after marrying into the daughters of Heth, Eliezer of Damascus, long before that, went to a far land to get Isaac a wife. Esau, well, you are what your father is mentality, perhaps, and you are what your father is. I'm gonna just, put my seed in the daughters of these Hamites. No. You're supposed to go, like Tobit, chapter 4, verse 12, in the Apocrypha say, don't go to any foreign women, because that's whoredom. So you got my grandchild Esau coming from a Hamite woman. Eliezer of Damascus prayed and said, if you give me favor, I'm paraphrasing, and find from my employer, Adoni, my Lord, lowercase l, a wife. Eliezer of Damascus left that in the hands of the Most High God. And Rebekah became Isaac's wife. Now, how does all of that tie in? Esau, going into the daughters of Heth, it says it was bitterness of spirit to Isaac and Rebekah. So, you sold your birthright. You went to the daughters of the Hamites. And to the daughters of these particular ones at that. And then you come in for the blessing. No. You sold your birthright. You should have told your Abba, Makarati, Habkorah. Because in the Tanakh, it says Esau despised his birthright. And these are Israelites writing it like you actually sold your birthright because you said you was hungry. I'm at the point to die. You're not at the point to die. You don't know hunger. Hunger at the point to die, sadly, is what the reporter was showing when the bird in some African country, I forgot what it was waiting for the boy to die because his stomach and the gases was already swelled up. So he was already at the point of death. Esau, your stomach was not enlarged because of the gases because your stomach wasn't working. You were not at the point of hunger, of death. You could care less about your seed. You could care less about your future. And there's another thing to point out too. Brothers, have your own as a man. Most mothers say to their sons, if you can't obey my rules in my house, you can get out. My mother did that. It's not to get too personal. Talking family extended or immediate, right? Immediate or extended. My mother put me out one time. I was 19. You can't obey my rules. She took the keys and threw them. Gave me my staff. I had a staff that was made by a brother out of Hashaba. And put like a picnic kind of basket. I don't like the word picnic, sorry. But put like some kind of bag, tied it to the staff, and said, here you go. And I spent the night on the train that night. I went home the next day, but that night, disobeying my mother, she put me out the house. Real talk, family. But this is Israel. This is not romanticism. Todah, I was able to get back the next day and things were repaired and things was done and so forth. All right? In that particular case. But what am I trying to point out, family? Have your own as a man. Most mothers, like I stated, put their sons out when they don't listen to them. Jacob listened to his mother and then she put him out to live with Laban. What does that tell us? Have your own. Don't say, yo, my Isha got me. Because at a certain point, even your Ima would not have you. A man's supposed to leave his father and mother, cleave to his wife, and be one flesh. So have your own as a man. Don't sit there and depend upon, quote, the lady. She make more than me. Everything is in her name. What does the Apocrypha teach us? The woman, if she maintain her man, is full of wrath and contention. Brothers, get it together. Don't be like Esau. Don't sit there and depend. I'm going to go back and just lay up with the woman, any kind of one. In this case, Esau and the daughters of Heth. Then I'm going to go and try to be on mommy and daddy's side. Have your own as a man. Abraham, leave your father's house. Lek Lekah, go for yourself. Jacob, time for you to leave. Go and stay with your uncle Laban and work for these women of the daughters of Shem. Don't sit there and just easily get the woman. Sometimes women do. I got 3 sisters. Sometimes women do say that. If he can get you easy, he gonna always think you are such. Jacob worked hard for his wives. Esau didn't. Esau did not work hard for his wife. It's there and for the taking. That's cool. The Shechemites did not work hard for Dinah. She went out to the with the daughters of the land. Hey, how y'all doing? And we know what Shimon and Levi did. That's a whole other situation. But I'm pointing this out as brothers is telling us in Exodus, and as people in Exodus. 6 days shall thy labor do all your work. Get it together. Get work. Get something established. Have it together. And it doesn't make you a bad man. I'm going to quote a rapper. Nas. And I'm going to paraphrase what he said, something to the effect of, you wouldn't ask me to do a song with you so you can get off the shelf because Nas' name itself will sell. So I say that to point out, if you need to get it together and collaborate with your brothers and show unity, then what's wrong with that? So how does all of that tie into this? Because, brothers and sisters, if you are not in the mode of keeping 6 working days, how can you understand Shabbat? And if you're working on Shabbat, how can you understand the 6 working days? They're baby cousins. They're fraternal twins, perhaps. It goes hand in hand. That's why we read in the scriptures, love not sleep. Open your eyes and you shall be satisfied with bread. What do we call victuals, kesef, money, guap, if you will, my paper? Many times people call it my bread. It's right in Proverbs. So just want to point that out, all right? Now, that we've gone over essentially some of the reasons why you got people in Israel teaching that it's only the daylight part, is because you want to do what you want to do working on Friday night. You want to do checking out homegirl on Friday night without any regard to it. That's the reason why. For men, it's Nashim, women, and Kesef, money, as to why, well, the Sabbath is only in the light part, you know, or we ain't even got to keep it in captivity, you know? That's part of the 10 Commandments. Stop listening to these Facebook so-called teachers. These internet teachers who don't got no pedigree on where they came from. Who's your teacher? Who instructed you? Who made you such? And this is not to toot my own horn. I was given at the age of 22 the certification out of a recognized camp called Benai Zakim from Chief Simeon's uncle named Chief Shemaiah, who said, you are a Moreh, and he gave me the certification for such. What do you mean you don't have to keep the Sabbath? It's part of the Decalogue or the 10 Commandments. That will be the same person that say, well, if you got to do what you got to do, steal. Proverbs says, don't let me be rich, at least I'll forget you, Yah. And let me not be poor, at least I steal and profane your name. So there's like a balance. Because rich people like that, or wealthy, they don't consider the Father, the Most High God, like that. And poor people, they're going to do what they're going to do to survive. But either way, what what Proverbs 30 is telling you there is, Father, don't let me be either rich nor poor, but let me be well. So brothers and sisters, that in a nutshell, in part, is why some people want to teach that you cannot keep the Sabbath. They who say it's because we in captivity are captors. So you want me to keep working all 7 days, huh? What is that? You the slave master in modern time. You don't want me to have no day of rest, huh? I can't get no time to just meditate on the word and pray to my king, the Most High God. I can't do that. You're in violation. Where's your offering? Oh, let's go there with the time allotted. If you don't have your offering, you can't keep the Sabbath. Brothers and sisters, the offerings that were done on the Shabbat that you read of in Numbers, the 28th chapter, was not given by each and every single Israelite. The tribe of Gad, Reuben, Manasseh is on the east side of the Jordan. You brought your offerings to Jerusalem. Every Shabbat, there are 4 offerings of animals. There's the daily one that's done every day, and then there's the one besides that that's done on Shabbat. So when people ask on the Facebook community, while not even promoting brothers and sisters' businesses, saying you can't keep Sabbath, you ever notice that? The people on the internet, Israel, that teach you can't keep the Sabbath day holy or the Sabbath time holy and sacred are the same ones who don't support people's businesses when it ain't even the Shabbat. You ever notice that? Look up and down the page. When do you support anything the children of Israel do? When sisters sell garments, do you support that? When brothers got books, do you support that? When people are talking about their food pantry, do you support that? You too busy trying to have Israelites not want to keep the commandments of the Most High God. But because this is a sign between us and our God, we ain't even got to worry about what the Facebook community says. Because all that takes is a block next, and Exodus still stands. So, brothers and sisters, every Israelite in Numbers 28 wasn't bringing an offering. And since every Israelite in Numbers the 28th chapter was not bringing an offering on Shabbat, that shows you Deuteronomy chapter 18, when it says that the people will bring their freewill offerings, their sin offerings, their meal offerings. That's the animals that Numbers 28 talks about being sacrificed that the Levites already had in Jerusalem. David counted Israel, which he wasn't supposed to, which came up to be 70,000 that passed away because of a plague. So if there's over 70,000 Israelites in the time of David, Solomon's era, Israelites done increased by then. If Solomon has over 200 wives, you best believe the king's doing it, I'm going to do polygamy too. So more babies by default, knowing how a society moves. When the leaders do it, the people do it as well. So more babies are being made because David was a polygynist. David had about 3 to 5 wives, if I'm not mistaken. These men were not monogamous like Mordecai Yeshaya is. I'm monogamous, but that's a personal matter and a personal choice. I can't say Mordecai Yeshaya of the tribe of Dan, knowing Dan's biological mother was the concubine Bilhah, and say polygyny should never be in Israel. That's not your decision. Your tribe, my brother Yeshaya, came out of the tribe of Dan, which means that if Jacob didn't have that wife, you wouldn't exist, according to your own claim of Dan. So if polygyny's for you, know what you're doing. If monogamy's for you, know what you're doing. So brothers and sisters, how does all of that tie in and what we're talking about? People just don't want to keep the commandments. That's all that is. That's all that is. Well, in the book of Hosea, it says about the Sabbaths not being liked. There's a part when the Most High said he hated those in Gilgal. Gilgal is in the land of Israel. There's a part in the scriptures when the Most High said, due to their ways, I hated them. And he's talking about Israel in that case. So what does that mean? Love him and keep his commandments. The book of Isaiah says, your new moons and your appointed seasons and your Sabbaths, my soul hate. That means do it to where he doesn't hate it. Not that you don't do it. You just don't want to keep the commandments. You want to go out with her on Friday night because you think she look good. That money looking good to you working on the seventh day, so that's why you do it, and that's it. Because if you really putting it together, getting your grind on, the 6 working days you're going to enjoy when that Shabbat come in, and you're going to appreciate it. And we in a time now where if you want, I remember in the 1980s it was popular. Moray. No, they wasn't talking to me. I was in the Moray then. I need a letter. And they would sit there and have it sealed, stamped, and give this to your employer. Whatever it takes, brothers and sisters. I remember being amongst some brothers, and it's not to be ever disrespectful because it's beautiful to command the commandments and citing it. I greeted a brother in the camp. He said, Shalom, lo tinaf. I was like, what? Shalom, lo tinaf. I never would forget that. Do you know what lo tinaf means? Anybody in the chat? What is the translation of lo tinaf? Anybody type that in? And we're going to move on in this case. Thank you for that. All right, so we understand that yom can mean day or time, and the plural of that word is yamin. All right, now Jeremiah with the time allotted. We have a moderator here, the brother Yirmiyahu, right? And so I'm asking, what does lo tinaf mean? Does anybody know what that is? You can type it into the chat. Jeremiah was a prophet. This is why this is also on the History Channel. Jeremiah was a prophet during the timing of Josiah of Judah until Zedekiah of Judah. This was during the rise of Babylon and the fall of Assyria. Josiah was assassinated by Necho II of Egypt's 26th dynasty. Jeremiah chapter 2 verse 16, to let the book speak. He's always talking his own words. No, we're going to let the book speak. Jeremiah chapter 2, we in verse 16. All right. Lo tinaf means thou shalt not commit adultery. That's what the brother greeted me as. And they kept on greeting people as such. Shalom, lo tinaf, lo tinaf. Whatever it takes. Can't hate on that. Thank you for that, Adonai. That's what that means. So let's go to Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 16, and see what we can gain out of that. Also, the children of Noth and Tapanhes have broken the crown of thy head. Have broken the crown of thy head. The children of Noth and Tapanhes. You know where Noth is in Egypt. You know where Tapanhes is in Egypt. The people of Noth and Tapanhes have broken the crown of your head. The Hebrew says, from the root word ra'ah, not meaning to see, but the word ra'ah meaning to guide. Why does that become important? Because the Egyptians then assassinated Josiah and incarcerated his son Jehoiakim. So Egypt became the guide for the Israelites. They became the leaders of the Israelites. So when it says the people of Noth, which is Memphis, or Menophar in Egyptian, right? And Tapanhes, which in Egyptian is said as Tapanketh. Pankes or Pinkas in Egyptian means black. Takpankes. Ta means land. Ta Meri, Ta Sati, all of that stuff in that Egypt thing. Ta means land. Land. So Takpankes or Ta Pinkadkes in Egyptian means the land of the black ones. To just get some linguistics in. The people of Noth and Tapanhes, Yerauka, Quadka in the Hebrew. They are the ones who are leading and gleaning you upon your crown. Quad meaning crown, like the crown of your head. Josiah and then his son Jehoiakim was during the time when Egypt was doing that to the Israelites. So that's why we can see that there. Josiah was assassinated. Pardon me. Josiah was succeeded by Jehoiakim, who was incarcerated by Nebuchadnezzar. See, family? That's not accurate. I'm going to change this and say my fault, Shagaga. By Necho. I stand corrected. All right. The Egyptians actually incarcerated Jehoiakim, not the Babylonians. The next king was Jehoiakim, who ruled for 11 years, and he, by some statements, was assassinated. In the book of Josephus, it says that Nebuchadnezzar did assassinate Jehoiakim. But now we're going to read in the book of Daniel. All right? We are in Daniel chapter 1, verse 1. And it says, in the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, into Jerusalem, and he besieged it. And the Most High gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of Elohim, which he carried into the land of Shinar, which is Sumer, to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasure of the house of his God. So in the time of Jehoiakim, Nebuchadnezzar attacked the Israelites. So we just want to point that out and letting the book speak for itself. 2 Kings 24, verse 7. If I can be heard well and people in good spirits, please type in the number 4. If I can be heard well and people are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. 2 Kings chapter 24, we're going to start in verse 7. It says this. And the king of Egypt came not again any more out of his land, for the king of Babylon had taken from the river of Egypt, which is the Nile, unto the river Euphrates, all that pertained to the king of Egypt. Thank you for that, my brothers, for typing that in. Shalom, Black Av. How you doing? It goes on to say here in verse 8, Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. And his mother name was Nehushta, the daughter of El-Natan of Jerusalem. El-Natan means God has given. Nehushta, from the word Nakash, means that which is of guessing or sorcery or an enchantment in that case. All right? So Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he began to reign. He is the son of Jehoiakim, who by then default is the son of the grandson of Josiah. So we just want to point that out. Let's go on, family. The meaning. Get your pens and your pads out, brothers and sisters, so we can get into this for edification purposes. All right? We're going to, brothers and sisters, get with the laser pointer. All right? Right. We didn't get to that part, my brother, and I appreciate that. But yeah, Nebuchadnezzar placed Mattaniah also as Zedekiah on the throne. Thank you, my brother, for typing that in. Jeremiah said in Hebrew as Yirmiyahu. The word means whom the Most High will exalt. The Yod in the beginning shows the word is in the future tense. The Yahu at the end is in reference to the Most High. The Resh in Mem is Ram, which in Hebrew means en route to exalt. Now let's look at the Hebrew here, right? And with the highlighter, with the time allotted, all right? It says this, Lo Ramu Enai, my eyes are not lifted up. Psalms 131. We're going to look at this, and we're going to color code in the blue with the pen, right? In the blue, Ram. That comes from the Resh and the Mem. Let's move on. Bayad Rama with the high hand. Ram. The Resh and the Mem. Resh and the Mem spells Ram. Ram. Ramim. This is Ram. This is Ramim. Rama and Ramot. Rama, Ramot. There are levels to this. Yesh Ramot Bazeh. Ramot. Levels. That which is lifted up. Let's get our Hebrew on. So we hear a lot of brothers and sisters say, it's levels to this. Whatever they're talking about. Well, in Hebrew, the way to say there are levels to this is Yesh Ramot Bazeh. All right? Given on this particular matter. Any questions or comments, please feel free to type it into the chat. Thank you. All right, let's go on. Oh, the Resh and the Mem is here on the left-hand side in the name Jeremiah. Let's go on. Hebrew and names. All right. Josiah, Yoshiyahu, meaning God heals. It comes from the root word Asha. Asha means to heal. Amon, meaning workman. Jehoiakim, God will establish. And Zedekiah, Zidkiyah, God is my righteousness. Jeremiah began to prophesy when Josiah was 21 and continued past when Zedekiah was 32. The kings of Judah at that time were Josiah, Jehoiakaz, Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, Zedekiah. Josiah was assassinated. Jehoiakaz was incarcerated. Jehoiakim, according to some, was assassinated. Jehoiakim was incarcerated, and Zedekiah was incarcerated after he got his eyes put out, after he saw his sons being slain before his eyes. Israel. We gotta do better. Jehoiakim of Judah, and I'm going to highlight where I'm talking about in this case here, right? In the yellow on the right hand side. And this is no knock on anyone because we've been in captivity all our lives from birth. Jehoiakim was in jail or prison from age 18 to age 55. So he spent his last teenage years, all his 20s, all his 30s, and all his 40s, and half of his 50s in prison. How many brothers do we know that did time like that? Over 30 years incarceration. Sometimes I watch those things in prison, be it Clinton in upstate New York, be it Pelican Bay over in California, be it Angola prison that you see in Louisiana. And some of the time frames they're talking about, I'm like, whoa, you was in there from before my birth for whatever reason. Now, what did the prophet Isaiah say about Babylon to coincide with it? O daughter of Babylon, who refused to release your prisoners. Babylon was known for keeping their prisoners in there for a long time. So if Jehoiakim, king of Judah, was incarcerated from age 18 all the way to age 55, that's over 30 years of lockdown. Zedekiah, he ruled for 11 years. And before he had his eyes put out, he saw the assassination of his son or sons. That's what happened with the southern kingdom of Judah. The Most High delivered, sadly, Judah into the hand of their enemies. What happened with the second kingdom? Pardon me, the second temple, sorry. Because Israel didn't have a king in the time of Ezra and so on. Israel wasn't getting along with each other. And later on, when the Romans came and saw the Israelites that were not scattered to other parts, because as we point out in the presentation, more of the Yeshaya history lessons, in the presentation called From Jerusalem to the Hood, that Jeremiah, you can check that out on the channel, From Jerusalem to the Hood, from part 1 to part 6, right? Jeremiah was brought into Egypt. So the Israelites, by the time Pompey of Rome comes on the scene, that were left in the land, by the time before Titus of Jerusalem destroys the temple in 70 AD, Israel was living what today you will call the Vice Lords, the GDs, the Bloods, the Crips. That's how Israel was living in the time of Vespasian. So the Romans were saying they're not getting along. It's easy to overtake them. It's easy to overtake somebody, a people, when they're are disunited and not organized and not loving each other. That's what the Maroons did in Jamaica when the white man being Spanish or the white man being British were fighting against each other. They went in Trelawney and places of that nature in Maroon Town, which became such, and locked their hair, became leaders, and went down and did massacre upon the enslavers. And they was able to do so because the British being white, and it's not about black or white in this case, and the Spaniards being white, both of them being enslavers of the people in Jamaica, the black people there, our ancestors in that island saw, oh, they not getting along, time to unite. So sign, when we're not getting along, time to unite. Why do you think you got women who approach black men saying we better than black women are? No disrespect, people know good and well, sadly, black men and black women don't get along in many cases, sad to say. So that allows others to sit there and feel they got some kind of quote unquote advantage. So what is the solution? We got to sit there as a people and come together. That unity, what better time to start it than on the Shabbat? What better time to start it than now? So we want to point this out, brothers and sisters. Zedekiah rebelled against Jeremiah's advice and wisdom and prophecies and teachings. We're supposed to want to come together. Zedekiah just wanted to appease the people. Just keep the idols in there. It keeps the people quiet. But it angers the Most High. So when we know better, let's do better, family. Let's get rid of, and this is no knock on brothers and sisters, a lot of Tanakh Israelites, so-called Old Testament base. We ain't got no idols. That's not what Ezekiel 14 says. Let's read that. Ezekiel chapter 14. Let's go there, family, if we will, right? All right, we're going to go here, and we're going to type in that particular portion here where it says Ezekiel 14. All right? And let's see, family, what it says in that particular case. All right? Here's what it says in the Old Testament, and I'm speaking, no disrespect intended to any brother or sister's understanding, to my Tanakh base as I too am what you call Old Testament base, Tanakh base. Ezekiel 14, verse 1. For everybody that's Old Testament base that says they don't have any idols or so forth. Let's see what it says. Then came certain of the elders of Israel unto me, and sat before me. And the word of Yah came unto me, saying, Son of man, these men have set up their idols in their heart. Stop. So therefore, right in the Old Testament, Ezekiel 14. These elders have set their idols in their heart. So everybody's saying, oh, the Old Testament don't talk about the matter of the heart. Yes, it does. If they had in the Old Testament, and I'm just using that term, idols in their heart, my Tanakh-based brother, don't think that we don't have idols in our heart too. You know what any of those idols can be? And this is not to be disrespectful, brothers and sisters. All right? Let's look, if we will. You know what that is there, brothers and sisters? That was a controversial matter in Israel at a certain point. If you will, Nike sneaker. Nike product. Did you know what that is, brothers and sisters? Nike was the Greek goddess of victory. That, brothers and sisters, was what they called on the hands of Zeus. Uh-oh. What set forth the Maccabean revolt? Was that our ancestors would not like, and it's not that we deal with flesh. Our ancestors, the Maccabees, would not want us to wear that. Shalom, my brother, Yared Yahuda. When the Greeks under Antiochus Epiphanes in the 2nd century BCE brought in what people understand the book of Daniel talk about, the abomination of desolation that causes appallment, and put that Zeus inside the temple, made the Maccabees revolt and willing to die. So now the people related to the Greeks, the children of Japhet, after shipping us over here from Western Africa, the Greeks and Romans chasing us there, and then later on the Portuguese and Spaniards picking us up and bringing us here to the West. And then later on the French and the Dutch and the British, because Portugal and Spain set off the slave trade. So when you go to the portion in Isaiah chapter 60, when it says the ships of Tarshish shall come first to bring your tribute, it was the ships of Tarshish that were used first of Spain and Portugal to bring us over here. So when we get our reparations, Isaiah 60 talks about they're going to be the first to do it, to get prophecy to be understood. Isaiah chapter 60. The Portuguese and the Spaniards come from the people of Tarshish. Isaiah 60 talks about them bringing the people as part of the tribute. Shalom Morabat Sheba. So what can we point out, brothers and sisters, in this particular case? They're going to give the same thing that their ancient empire gave Israel. Just put it on their feet, put it on their clothes, quote unquote Nikes. They know Psalm 83. They hold crafty converse to cause the name of Israel to not be in remembrance. When Israel was worshiping that golden calf, and it's interesting that in New York and in Chicago, they got a great big looking bull kind of thing. Similar looking like the golden calf kind of thing, maybe. Just to make sure Israel go against the Most High. Exodus 32 says that Israel at that point was left as a derision to their enemies. So when they hold in Psalm 83 crafty converse against the people that the name of Israel may be cut off from remembrance, that is crafty counsel. Get the people to wear idols, get the people to want idols, and guess what else? Get the people to worship idols. Because in the time of Augustus of Rome, the Roman emperor, if any Israelite was teaching about Roman gods as if the Roman gods were the creator, they didn't give you no taxes. So when you see Sharpton, no tax maybe. When you look at Floyd Flake and these mega churches with no taxes, they who taught of the Roman gods in the time of Augustus, they didn't get any tax put upon them. So when you see the churches not paying any taxes, they teaching you about the same Roman gods. They know what they're doing. This is not an accident. That they put pork in your food and name it something else. They tell you not to even spank your children. They will sit there and have it to where you're walking around in their idols. They sit there and promote all kinds of lasciviousness. A boy can be a girl and a girl can be a boy. School curriculum done going crazy. Whatever happened to want to be the fireman, the doctor, the lawyer? Whatever happened, I want to be, for what it's even worth, a sports player. I want to be like Mike. They used to say that when I was in elementary school. When I was in elementary school in the 1980s, I want to be like Mike. Now they got the children that want to sit there and say, what? I want to be a girl, though I'm a boy. You got people who back in the 1980s and 90s was saying, I want to be the doctor that catch the babies because Bill Cosby playing Heathcliff Huxtable and Felicia Rashad as Claire had the perfect black family in the 1980s on TV. They got children not even wanting to be a doctor. They rather sit there and have the boy to be a girl and a girl to be a boy. This is madness. So, no respect, no disrespect, but no respect, and disrespect even in this case, to Madonna talking about she done turned 65. Talking about like a virgin. Madonna the bisexual having intimacy, quote unquote, if you want to call that intimacy, with all of her staff, male and female alike. Talking about she turning 65. But adopting black boys is saying a boy could be a princess. So when this society fall, let's not wonder. But while in it, let's do what we gotta do. There used to be Morehouse College. The same year Malcolm X was born in 1925, had dozens of graduates in the Morehouse College. Now the sign by the train in New York City got two men talking about, this is my boo. We done went from being known and shown as college graduates to talking to another man saying, this is my boo. Something done gone haywire. And they promote it because they don't want Israel to return to the Most High God. History and archaeology. Jeremiah chapter 46, 1 through 2. The king after Jehoiakim was Jehoiachin, who was mentioned by the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar. This is in the British Museum. 10 seller of oil for Yaokin of Judah. 2.5 seller for the sons of the king of Judah. 4 seller for 8 men of Judah. The above is part of the cuneiform tablet that speaks of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, who was the captive in Babylon. So brothers and sisters, this is inside the British Museum on the right-hand side. Israelites never come with archaeology. They just always cite the Bible. No, this archaeology is right here. It's right here. What is a silla when it says 10 silla of oil? A silla in today's terminology is like a liter. Oh, pardon me, it's like a liter. L-I-T-E-R, all right? Just for measurement purposes. History and letting the book speak. Israel, known as the Northern Kingdom, fell to the Assyrians, but too was later in Babylon. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 50. We are in Jeremiah, letting the book speak, chapter 50. And we're going to start in verse 33. And it says this. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. Yes, a leader. Sorry about that. A silla is like a leader. So now in Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 33, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together. Let's go to verse 17 of the same chapter. Israel is a scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away. First the king of Assyria hath devoured him, and last this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, hath broken his bones. So you had Assyria and Babylon coming against Israel and Judah. Let's see what Lamentations says. Lamentations chapter 2, verse 5. And it says this, brothers and sisters, right here. The Lord hath been as an enemy. He hath swallowed up Israel. He hath swallowed up all her palaces. He hath destroyed his strongholds, and hath increased in the daughter of Judah mourning and lamentation. So Israel and Judah were going through it. And if you want to know about the people, you can see how the people are by looking at the women of the people. Has increased in the daughter of Judah lamentation and mourning. Why and how? Because your men have fallen. It's so stressful. I gotta be mother and father. I got sisters. I'm related to sisters. And by sisters, I mean quote unquote black women. They're not happy talking about, I'm single. I can handle all of this by myself. No. What happened is, as in this case of Jeremiah, where it says they have healed the hurt of the daughter of my people, saying, peace, peace, where there is no peace. You're not happy trying to hold it all down by yourself. That's just the truth. So what do we have to do as brothers and as men? Reclaim our women. We got to reclaim our women. What does it say? Wow, brother got 8 sisters. I got 3. I hear you, I. Much respect. Getting back into this. We have to reclaim that, and we will be reclaimed. The brother just typed in, my dad has 18 children. I am one of 4 boys. So that means my brother saw that is 14 daughters, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, may one of them then, if I'm to say, may rest in peace. You have 13 living sisters. This is serious. We are a people who are about making people. You know, and looking at it like this and closing this out, the next king was Zedekiah, the uncle of Jehoiakim. Jeremiah chapter 22, verse 24 reads as follows. To let the book speak, brothers and sisters. If I can be heard and people in good spirits, please type in the number 4. If I can be heard and people are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. We are in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 22, verse 24. Thank you, my brothers, for that. And it says this. As I live, saith the Lord, though Coniah the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, were a signet upon my right hand, yet will I pluck thee thence. And I will give thee into the hand of them that seek thy life, and into the hand of them whose face thou fearest, even into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and into the hand of the Chaldeans. Now, mind you, he's talking about a teenager, because he was 18 years old when he went into captivity. And I will cast thee out, and thy mother that bore thee, unto another country where you were not born, and there you shall die. And to the land where unto thou desirest to return, thither thou shalt not return. Is this man Coniah a despised, broken idol? Is he a vessel wherein is no pleasure? Wherefore are they cast out, he and his seed, and are cast into the land which they know not? O earth, 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 hear the word of Yah. Thus saith Yah, write ye this man childless, a man that shall not prosper in his days. For no man of his seed shall prosper, sitting on the throne of David, ruling any more in Judah. Thank you for that. My brother typing in dollar for 4. I respect that. Thank you, my brothers, for typing in the number 4. Coniah is Jehoiakim. He had no descendant of his own line that sat on the throne of Judah. After him, his uncle Mattaniah, later on known as Zedekiah, ruled. And we already discussed what happened with Zedekiah. The era of Jehoiakim's captivity was 597 BCE. The era of Zedekiah's captivity was in 586 BCE. The Babylonian Empire. Let's look at this map and close out. Laser pointer. Egypt, Tahpanhes. We read Tahpanhes earlier in Jeremiah chapter 2, remember? We read about Memphis, Noph, the people of Noph and Tahpanhes in Jeremiah chapter 2. That's these lands right here. Noph is Memphis, called Menopher. Inside of Egyptian, called Noph in Hebrew. Referred to as Memphis in today's time. Tahpanhes, we went over that. That's in Jeremiah, both lands there. Jerusalem, the Babylonian captivity, where Israel was taken into captivity in 597, then 586 BCE. Thank you for that, my brother Jared Arba'a. Thank you for that, brother. The letter Dal is the fourth letter, so I feel where everybody's coming from. I definitely appreciate that support. The land of Anatot and the land of Benjamin. That was in Jeremiah chapter 1. I can be reached at 908 587 4841. 908 587 4841. Much respect to my lady Sarai, who encourages me to do these things. Much respect to the people on the line who supported, and I ask you all to continue to support. Subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share. Text me, WhatsApp, Messenger. Many of us are Facebook friends in real time as well. Much respect to my teachers and to them who encourage. Brothers and sisters, let's end off this presentation because this is, as you can see here, the last slide. That is Sennacherib. A little over 50 years before Jeremiah or so. Having captives shown near, and we want to show this and close out, right? With the pen. Afros. Those are people of Judah. Yes, Jeremiah was a Levite. But what we just showed here is the land of Anatot. This is in the land of Benjamin, where Jeremiah was born. So we can see the land is repaying its Sabbath without inhabitant in this particular case. Brothers and sisters, that's Israelites that you see there in the red circle on the left-hand side of this picture. They're here. It shows you what kind of hair they had. It's coarse. I hate to use the word nappy. It's black people. That's baby knowledge. No disrespect intended. The point in this, on a righteous level, and not so much the color level, though we know the color of the Israelites, is this. You don't want to be seen as this. I'm going to take the liberty, before we close out, right, in this. And show, if I may, right, in this manner. Please, family, bear with me with this. All right. Am I a man and brother? Because we want to show there's no way in the world that those people overtook us, mighty people, by their own way. We fell as a people because we broke the laws, the statutes, and the commandments of the God. So if we pull this up here, and I want to show this for reasonable purposes, if we will, right? On right here, and we're going to go to slideshow from current slide. Am I not a man and brother? And over here we see, as pointed out, Judah being shown as captives. What is the difference between the men in the afro there and a man in the afro shown in the South in slavery in the United States? This is why a brother in part wrote the book From Assyria to America. Because let's look, if we will. Here we see a captive shown humbled, and here we see a captive shown humbled. We're familiar with both of these. There's none difference, but the reason why this happened is because we broke the laws of Yah. That's why you're shown like this, Judah, Dan, Gad, Manasseh, and Ephraim. We gotta stop being the people on our knees in that particular case to the other nations. So this is shown in the United States, as you see there. A man shown bowed down. And before that, centuries before that, you have the Assyrians showing Judah like that. We're going to return back to the Most High God, giving honor and praise unto Yah, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. Thus ends the presentation. Brothers and sisters, I am open to constructive criticism. Brothers and sisters, I do not know everything, and I am willing to learn. I cited my teachers, which some say is humble of me. I don't think it's humble as much as it is respectful. Because see, humble people don't say they humble. It's respectful. That you give credit where credit is due. And the brother's talking about he got the book a brother wrote from Assyria to America. I had to cite the sources carefully, because then you'll be known as a plagiarist. And Israel knows not to steal. So you give credit where credit is due. See how the laws keep you in line? And respect is what I mean when I say in line. And the brother just typed the word respect. All right, so family, thank you all for joining. I am going to personally close this down. Sorry about any interruption that's happened from last night and earlier. And giving honor and praise unto Yah, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. I'm going to personally watch DCB because I was told that I should from my older sister on the prayer line. Shout out to her and her family, Guerrero Kokavia, and of course her Esau and Aman. So join the prayer line for those who are interested. All right, it's a beautiful thing. So Most High be with you all. My information is there, 908-587-4841. Thank you for that. Yes, we'll keep each other posted, my brother, and we shall speak. Most High be with you all. Shalom.